Hey guys, this is a weird angle. So we're recording. I'm about to go on Zoom. So I'm really just trying to collect myself. I have like paper everywhere and I'm trying not to be jittery. I would wear my sword blanket, but I'm sweating buckets. So it's like here, but it's not happening. Okay, one shot of honey for good luck. I've already taken one, so two. And I'm actually gonna put it in my apple juice because I am a small child.
I think you have to give permission.
Yeah, the consent.
Yes. Okay, we're recording. Hi. So welcome to the inaugural and possibly last Words with Whiskey, which I just came up with. I am here with two fabulous sisters, and I'm so honored to be here with. The first one is Bernice Mcfadden, an incredibly talented novelist. She's written 15 novels and counting, which makes me feel like a slackard. But anyway, her latest is Praise Song for the Butterflies, which is extraordinary and which I highly recommend. We're going to put up a snapshot of the cover at some point. I'm also here with the lovely beauty blogger, book reviewer, and Canadian, Natalie Green, and I'm so delighted to have you here. So we're just going to spend the next few minutes talking a little bit about reading and writing and laughing in a time of COVID. So welcome to you both. And Bernice, let's just start with you. How are you doing? I mean, how are you making it during right now?
First of all, thank you for including me in this wonderful platform.
Yes.
Oh, I don't have whiskey. I can't drink whiskey.
No.
There are going to be a few times during this session that I'm just going to be fanning myself because that's the period in my life that I'm dealing with.
I know that period. Yes.
Not there yet.
We can't. That's just a conversation Kimberly and I spent hours talking about. You're nowhere near that, Natalie.
No.
How am I writing? I actually, maybe it's been a week, started to schedule some time to write. I had to figure out how to write around my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that from the time I wake up in the morning until about 3, I have to give her all of my attention. Mm-hmm. And at 3, she's then tired and she goes into her room and closes the door. And usually I'm exhausted too. I've tried to take a nap and say, well, I'll lay down from 3 to 5. And sometimes I'll lie down and just stay in bed until the next morning. But for the past few days, I've actually been writing. It's like I go out and I take these long walks and I have to really have these kind of in-depth conversations with myself saying, mm-hmm. You have to do this. I had a book due January 1st. I've never been late on a deadline ever in my life.
Oh, wow.
And so now we've pushed it to July 1st. So I gotta get it done.
Oh, wow. So you got somebody waiting for this project.
I have somebody, and it's not even big. It's only 30,000. IG Publishing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Are you doing one of those? What's it called?
It's
bookmarked. Is it bookmarked?
Bookmark series.
Excellent. Great.
Yeah. So I'm writing about The Color Purple.
Oh, wonderful.
And that, it's a book I love. And when the offer was made or the opportunity came up, I was like, oh, yes. And I thought I was going to have it done like that. We're talking about, I think I signed the contract in February of last year.
Yeah.
So I'm very ashamed.
Yeah, well, that's funny because I'm actually working on one too.
Oh.
And I'm doing Another Country, James Baldwin.
Oh, wow. Of
yeah.
course.
So, but yeah, it's writing. I have really been having a hard time with writing. I'm also working on a novel and I've been going back and forth, and sometimes it'll seem like the world is so bizarre that I want to escape into my novel. But then I get into the novel and I'm like, and this is bad, but I'm like, who cares? Because the world is on fire,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, right? So it's been a challenge for me too. But Natalie, are you reading? What are you doing? How are you dealing with all of
I'm
this?
trying. Reading's even hard, like, because you try to focus on the characters and the protagonists, and you're just kind of like, okay, but COVID, that's happening right now. So it's kind of hard to focus on it and just kind of like sit there and like sit with a book. It's interesting though, because I had to listen to, before this meeting, Praise Song on Audible, and I felt like that was like 10 times better because I was like in it and I was able to just absorb it so much easier. So I would recommend that right now, opposed to like sitting with the book. But Audible was phenomenal for it because I literally was able to take it in, take a break, pause, because there are some like tough times during that book, beautifully written book, but it gets difficult, and I take a pause and then I'm like, okay, but I need to know what happens next. So you get to like absorb it in such a good way, but it's hard. You can't just like, I can't sit with the book like how I used to an evening after work. It's very difficult because it's all that's on your mind.
Right.
But that's how I get through most of my reading. I listen now. And this has been a few years. I don't know if it's because my eyes or I don't know. I like to walk and listen. I like to be read to.
Exactly.
That's good. That's interesting. I haven't really tried it. I have such a love affair and such a tactile with the book that I haven't made that jump yet. But I should probably try it because I'm
Find the right narrator.
Say again.
That is
You
key.
have to find the right narrator.
Yeah. Are you, Bernice, do you narrate your own? Did you do Praise Song? No.
I've never done it. It's Robin Miles. She is phenomenal.
Such a good job.
She even because every once in a while we'll have a telephone conversation and she'll just, start falling to different dialects as she's speaking. Like she's phenomenal.
Wow.
Wow.
But yes, the narrator is key because there are some where it's the same thing when you're reading a certain book. Sometimes your eyes kind of just like trail off the page. It's the same thing. If Audible doesn't have the right narrator, your mind goes somewhere else and then you're totally lost in it.
Yeah.
So highly recommend that if you find one. I'm glad that they have that option where you can kind of see like who's narrating it. So like for Becoming, Michelle Obama does the narration, which is like so nice to hear her voice and hear her read her own words. It's beautiful. But like some of them I've listened to, I'm just like, okay, next book.
Toni Morrison's voice.
Yes.
Is so soothing. And the rhythm, I could listen to her forever.
Yeah. She did all her own, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. She didn't trust anybody else to do it.
I don't blame her.
I don't blame her. What a loss that was. Yeah. Well, what do you guys want to talk about? Natalie, do you want to ask a question?
I wrote a lot, less questions, more topics, because again, COVID's happening. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around what we could talk about. But then also we lost Ahmaud Arbery recently, and it killed me. And I'm just tying in both books right now. I'm thinking about Womanish. You speak about how James Baldwin talks about anger and why we're not angry and why we're not more angry. But I found that with this death, I found that even non-Blacks were so upset, and I appreciated it. But to me, I was just like, this is what's happening. And I was even jaded by it, but I was happy to see that other people were getting angry. And then we have in Praise Song, Abeyo has such not an opportunity, but so many reasons to be angry. And we have all this anger right now that I feel like it did cause some good, but to me, I was heartbroken. Yesterday, I was like in a fog, like the whole day, the video circulating. I'm not trying to watch the video. So I just wanted to take a minute and talk about him and pay our respects to him. And then also kind of just hone in also on anger for both of your wonderful books.
Do you want to go? Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I was really upset yesterday too. It's just so heavy. And I mentioned to somebody today, I have a son, he's 20 years old, right? And yesterday he said, I'm gonna go for a run. And right, my heart is in my throat the entire time he's out there. And then I get angry that I have to be worried about my child going for a run, right? It's just, so I go back and forth between, heartbrokenness and anger. I am angry. And, I did write about that in Womanish. I write about that a lot. Various points in my life, I'm I've felt that, I mean, I think anger is necessary sometimes, right? The key is to channel it outward and not inward and let it destroy us. But I think we should be angry. And I think anger can spur change. I don't think we should not be angry. These are infuriating. It's infuriating that this man, this child, I mean, I can say he's a child because he's young to me. He's young enough to be my son, is shot down like a dog, and that his killers don't get arrested for 2 months. So yeah, I'll stop. Bernice, what do you think?
I saw the video and I watched it 3 times.
Oh God.
I know. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? But I just I had to really look and see this. And I saw that video the same day I learned that my friend had passed. And I went out to take a walk, and a friend of mine called me, and he said, "You don't sound good. What's going on?" And I just fell apart. So I'm walking the streets of Brooklyn just weeping. And it's because I was frustrated and angry. And I've taken a lot of this stuff, and I'm like, I'm just one person. What can I do? I try to educate those of us who don't get it,
Right.
But I said to myself yesterday, I'm going to have to step back. I'm going to have to remove myself from social media, not completely, but I spent a lot of time reading. I was like, I'm going to have to step back because I'm going to end up dead. I'm going to give myself a heart attack.
Yeah.
This is the country that we live in.
Yep.
And to your point, Natalie, you said that you felt like, there were people other than Black folk who are outraged at this time. I feel that I always see white folk outraged.
And nothing changes. Nothing comes from it.
Nothing changes. And so this is like fertile ground for stories for me, because I'm thinking about it all the time. We only make up 13% of the population.
Yeah.
And I have some friends who are activists, and they have their own thoughts as to what we should do that I won't say here. But I'm like, the reason why we don't retaliate in those brutal ways is because we make up 13% of the population.
Right.
And we know what will happen if even one person went out and retaliated in that.
Right.
And then, so what do we do?
Yeah.
Who's going to come to save us?
That's the question. Yeah. I thought yesterday about Song of Solomon and the 7 days, right? In Song of Solomon. So I'll just leave that there for people who might not know. They should read the book.
Yeah.
And look up that's how Toni Morrison processed it. And that's how long we've been processing it. And of course, before then and before then and before then. But Bernice, I know that you are, when you talked about sobbing, and I know that you are an empath, right? Like, I think as a writers, I think, should be, that we take on the weight of the world, right? And that makes it challenging. I'm wondering if you find that, right? I also have to put blocks up because it can literally endanger my life. If you see this world and this society in particular, American society, not Canada. And by the way, my question to Natalie is, can you sponsor me for citizenship?
All of us, Natalie.
Can we get it there?
I'd love to. It's not all great over here, but it's definitely not as bad, and you're more than welcome.
Okay. But anyway, I was just going to say, I've had to learn to mourn these things, but then, almost kind of put up a wall, which is heartbreaking, but in order not to go crazy, become homicidal or suicidal.
Yes, all of that.
Yeah.
All of that is, and people who aren't empaths, they don't understand. They're like, well, okay, it's horrible, but why is it affecting you this way? Mm-hmm. Because we're like sponges.
Yeah.
Everything. I feel like, and you tell me, Kim, if you agree, like my nerve endings are on the outside
Yes.
of my skin.
Yep.
That's how sensitive we are. So this is it's very, very troubling. And then to the other thing I find just mind-blowing is what people believe. If you have an ounce of intellect, an ounce, half an ounce, some of these things that we're being told by these politicians, or even the people that we, look up to, these celebrities, it's just like, this doesn't make any sense. How can you just take it and go with it and go, yeah, this is the way it is. Yeah. I have these conversations with my students all the time, and Kim, I'm sure I know you do.
Yes.
And I just sit there going, this is amazing to me. But we live in a country where it's memorization and repetition, right? So I guess if someone has told you Columbus discovered America for, your entire life, and then you're presented, facts that declare otherwise, it's hard for them to wrap their minds around it. What is it? Cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. Yeah. Cognitive dissonance. Yeah, well, exactly. And I mean, Baldwin wrote about that, right? It's that it's not only cognitive dissonance, it's an actual, and we don't want to go too far down this road, but it's an actual threat to their sense of identity, right? If your whole sense of identity is built on these myths of American history, right? Columbus discovered America, George Washington was a hero, Thomas Jefferson was a hero, not a slave owner, I mean, right? All these myths of American exceptionalism, that's your whole sense of identity. You're not gonna let go of that easily, even when presented with all kind of facts, because as Baldwin said, it's like you woke up one day and the stars were on fire. Your whole sense of the world is disrupted. And so that's why I'm not.
We're seeing that now with the 1619 project.
Yes.
The sister, right. Her name is escaping me. What is
Nicole Hannah-Jones. Yeah. I don't know if you know about that, Natalie, right? It's the 1619 project. Nicole Hannah-Jones is a reporter for the New York Times, extraordinary Black woman. And she created this whole project to talk about 1619 was the year that the first Africans landed on the shores of North America in what is now the United States. Although there's some controversy about that, but whatever. Right. That's really the beginning of slavery in North America, African slavery. And so she did a whole series, and basically reconfiguring the idea that America began in 1776. It actually began in 1619 with slavery, right? Slavery was foundational. So it was a huge series. She just won the Pulitzer this week, but boy, people are hot about it.
Because it's doing exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
It's now attacking and addressing these myths.
Yep.
So we have white male historians, flipping out, because the fear is this is going to become a part of the narrative in schools.
That's right. And that's we know as writers, right, and readers, the narrative is the thing, right? He who controls the narrative wins, right? He who controls. So yeah, any threat to the narrative is a threat.
He who controls the past controls the present, and he who controls the present controls the future.
That's right.
Not a lie. Not a lie.
See what you do.
You know what I would like to talk about.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So you had put up a tweet a few days ago, Kim, about I think it was something to do with publishing and do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Because I talk about it all the time, and it's probably, well, anyway, what do you have to say?
Natalie, what we're talking about is, I don't even know where,
She's already tired.
I'm already tired.
Just go find this tweet. catch myself.
Just thinking about it makes me tired.
Yes, but
I'm trying to think of a very short and brief way. The question is who gets rewarded and who gets awarded and who gets praised, who gets, awards and reviews and major publications, and who gets recognized and who doesn't, and who gets fellowships, as people who deserve it don't get it, and who are the gatekeepers that allow certain people through and keep other people out. And it's very hard to continue producing in the face of that. We don't write for the awards, we don't write for the fellowships, we write for other reasons. But we're human too, right? And to be producing what quite frankly, is good damn work. Yeah. Okay, let's just call it, right? This is good damn work, and have it be ignored is disheartening.
It's disheartening. If you see, and this is not us taking away from our brothers and sisters who are getting all of these awards and fellowships, but it's really troubling when Black artists, the world over, when the gatekeepers eke out who gets what. So maybe they'll send out 2 of us at a time, and you'll see those same 2 or 3 or 5 get all and everybody in the back is going,
hello, hello.
But when you look at white artists, they get eked out, not even eked out, they get poured out. 15, 20,
there's more than enough to go around for everybody.
Right. And so this idea that there's not enough, right? When we know there's enough, I think that I'm a conspiracy theorist. I believe that causes and creates all of this tension between us. We should love and support each other, no matter what. But if seeing 5 or 6 people get all of the attention, all of the awards, it's going to create animosity.
Yeah, you're right. It's hard. I mean, I try to cheerlead. I'm rooting for everybody Black, but come on now, right? Somebody, we can spread the love. You're right. No, I agree, and it is frustrating. And I don't know what to do about that.
What really can we do? What can we do? Again, this all goes back to this white supremacist patriarchal system.
Well, I was going to even talk about that because in Womanish, Kim brings up writing from the Black perspective, and she talks about, whitewashed syllabi, and someone that had to go to university, I had to go through that, and even half the books behind me, I just gave up on because I'm tired, the white protagonist, and I just put them down. So then I end up going, and I have to go buy something that is just like full of me. So what motivates you both to write from the Black perspective? And like, especially like you said, when you feel like it maybe just kind of narrowing to 2 specific, those 2, coined people, when you want to be one of those people that keeps, getting that spotlight, what keeps you going and what, drives you to write from the Black perspective or keep telling the stories that you have to tell or want to tell?
Go ahead, Kim.
You go.
Okay. So the first book I ever read by a Black person was The Color Purple.
Okay.
It was 1983. I had just graduated high school. And I knew for a very long time that I wanted to be a writer. But I did not know that Black writers existed. Like, I knew in the back of my mind that they had, because I had a grandfather that was all into, Black history. So I had heard, James Baldwin and the others back here. But in my mind, they were all dead. And that was it. I went to boarding school for high school, mostly white students, all white teachers. And so we were given books written by white authors to read. And I didn't find any of them interesting. I was reading at that time a lot of Stephen King. I loved horror. So I get home the summer of 1983, and there's this battered copy of The Color Purple. And I picked it up and I read it from cover to cover, I think like in one day, and it changed my life. And then she went on to win the Pulitzer, and I was like, this actually can happen. And it was that book, and it was Alice Walker herself that really opened a door, opened a window, and sent me on this journey looking for other Black writers, because I wanted to see me represented in those pages. And after I read The Color Purple, I was like, I know all those folks. That's my aunt so-and-so, and that's my uncle so-and-so. And so it was, when I was writing prior to that, I can't even tell you what I was writing about. Probably just, copying things I had read from, Stephen King and others. And that centered me. And I said, well, these stories are important. Stories that depict people that look like me are important. Mm-hmm. And I never wanted to stray away from that. But should I decide to want to write about people that don't look like me, it should be okay. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't be a problem, because white people write about people of color all the time. And the problem with that, everybody should be able to write about whomever they want to write about. Mm-hmm. But we know that when white people write about people of color, those stories are elevated.
Yep.
Right? Over the people who look like the folk on the page. Mm-hmm. Right? Over the writers who look like the folk on the page. And that's where the problem comes in. You don't want to limit folk. You don't want to limit people's creativity. That's unfair. But it does become an issue when those stories are elevated.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this all day. I could, because there's a lot in what you just said. So I'm just going to be brief. But starting from the last point, I think I agree with you that everybody should be able to write whatever they want to write. I agree with you that when white people write stories featuring people of color, it's like, oh my God, look at this amazing thing they did. It's miraculous, right? Whether or not it's actually good, that's the other thing, right? Because I also think it is true that it is easier to write looking up the ladder, right? If you're on the bottom of the ladder, you can see, you have a much better view up than a person on the top of the ladder has down. So, you know more, and I know more, quite frankly. I'm gonna say this generally, people get upset. I know more about what it's like to be a white man in this society, because I damn well better, or else I won't live, right? Whereas how many white men really can imagine what it's like to exist as a Black woman in this society? Rare. I'm married to a white man, and he doesn't know, right? Okay, so but he knows he doesn't know. That's why I love him, right?
Right.
So that's all of that is in there. But in terms of why I write, and I had a journey, and this is part of what I'm writing about in this book. I'm trying to write for the bookmark series for IG about another country, and it was the first book by a Black person I picked up was I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. And I picked that up in like 9th grade. And I do remember that moment, because she had that she was on the back, and the face, I had that same moment, oh my God, Black people can write? Black women can be writers? Like, I'm like,
Yep.
It's so exciting, right? Because I was a bookish kid too. I read like incessantly. I consumed books, but they were all by white writers. Mm-hmm. So that was like, okay, maybe I can be a writer. But then the journey to, I want to tell stories about Black people in my experience. That journey for me was a lot more long and convoluted. And, and James Baldwin was the one who and Toni Morrison were the two who kind of gave me permission, not only gave me permission, but told me, hey, this is not only okay, it's, we are the centers. Toni Morrison said, I'm not writing from the margins, I am the center, right? And so y'all can come in if you want, but we're here. Mm-hmm. I had a much longer and convoluted path to that, but I'm glad I finally got there. So, well, we could go on all day, and I know go on all day.
I want to say.
Yes.
And I think I said it to you in the email. We had a back and forth a few weeks back. So you know how much I love your work. I love your work.
And I love yours.
And I don't understand why.
Nobody knows me.
So I was sitting in my office, Natalie, people out there, sitting in my office one day, and the wife of the dean of the English department at Tulane walked into my office. She goes, "You know Kim Mclarin?" And I said, "Well, yes, I do." And she had just finished reading Womanish, and she was blown away. And she goes, "How come I'm just hearing about her?" And I said, "Yeah, question for the ages."
That's the question for the ages.
Yeah. And she was like, "I'm going out to get Divorce Dog." And she goes, "Oh, we're going to have to change this." And I was like, "Okay, let's do that. Let's do that." It's just, it's coming, Kim. It's coming.
It's frustrating. Well, you know, I don't know, but I appreciate that, Bernice. You're so kind. And of course, I love your work too. I think you're just an extraordinary novelist. And,
Thank you.
You know, it is what it is, but we keep on keeping on, right? If you know what, and I just want to thank Natalie, because I don't know why I was Googling. I try not to Google myself because it's a dangerous thing to do, but
I Google myself every day.
You do?
If anybody's telling any lies on me.
Interesting. See, I don't want to know. But I was doing it for some reason. I think I was trying to put something in my CV or something, and I came across, Natalie, your review of my book, and I was so moved and so just touched that it spoke to you. You said something about you know, for 20-year-old Black women need to read this, and that meant more to me than anything.
Oh wait,
but it's so true.
I feel like I might have posted that.
She has a fabulous little, she does these and posts it on YouTube.
Go back and look. I will absolutely go and follow you.
Oh, thank you. But it's so true. Like, honestly, I've gifted it. I've recommended it. I've probably stuffed it under someone's door because I'm just like, it's such integral knowledge to someone, even if you're not like super educated, even if you're not Black, like it's just, whenever I pick up this book, because even before our call I had to like reread things and make notes, and I was just like, this is crazy, crazy good. And it's a fact. Like, this is an experience, and this is things that, like I said, I'm a Canadian young Black woman, and you're writing from a totally different perspective as an American older Black woman, and it's totally aligned. And I'm reading this and I'm just like, I wish, like we said before, that there's some people that you have to argue that this is knowledge, that this is fact. It's like, no, this is actually what is going on, what is happening. And I'm so glad that it's so well written, because honestly, I could go on about it all the time. But I when we were talking about the Black perspective and we're talking about these books, part of the problem is that they're hidden. Like, I didn't know who either of you were a year ago. And I have to go in the bookstore and I have to go to the Black section and I have to go find myself. All the stories are different. Some are biographies, some are poems, but all the Black books are together.
Right. On 2 shelves, if you're lucky, right?
Yeah. 2 shelves in the store. They don't have anything. Some are horror, but because they're all Black authors, they're on that same side of the store. And I'm just thinking, why is this way? Like, this is the problem. And that's honestly part of the reason why I review and I try to read as much as I can, and I make sure that they're Black authors, because there are so many people that I have the conversation with, and they're just like, what are you talking about? Wow. And I'm like, what do you mean? What am I talking about? Like, what Black people are going through? And some of these are Black people. And you have to have that conversation and be like, listen, like, I'm going to put you up on what's going on right now and what's been going on. And you need to just, like, you know, knowledge is power. You need to take this and you kind of need to walk with it and just understand that this is what's happening everywhere, and that these are things that we need to, like, absorb and know. And it's just so good. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian girl, if you're a girl that goes to the club all weekend, if you're a girl that stays in, like, this is the book. Like, this is, if you had a child young, this is the book. I love it. I honestly love it. I could read it 10 times over. And I was even considering, since I had to go on Audible, I was like, maybe I should see if it's on Audible. Maybe I could listen to it in my sleep, like, absorb as much as possible.
I don't think it is. I don't know. It's such a small press. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Well, I just want to say, Natalie, you give me hope as an old lady that there's a future. That if you're a future, if you're our future, we'll be all right. We're gonna be all right.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, thank
All right.
you.
So, well, ladies, thank you so much for this. It was fantastic. I'm gonna log off right now. So thank you. And I'm going to